Champions Cup final is going to be an all-French affair with Toulouse and La Rochelle both getting home wins in their respective semi-finals. I have watched both of the games, fortunately, in full for a change. Probably a bit of a tale of some different weather leading to two very different games, but either way, I've watched them. I'll go through my thoughts, some of the stats, and you guys can let me know how you thought things went and maybe who you think is the favourite for the final at Twickenham in just under a month's time. The first one, Toulouse and Bordeaux, and oh my goodness, the first half, it was absolutely hosing down. Really bad weather, really heavy rain, and it kind of showed in the way the game ended up playing out. Both teams keen a lot to put boot to ball because that's just the way the conditions were. There was probably a bit too much crazy offloading going on for the conditions, but still we did see a couple of tries to Toulouse, and the rest of the scoring pretty much done in penalties. Bordeaux actually got the first one. They made it 3-0 with an early penalty, but LARvLEI got the first try of the match on 5 minutes as a really good hit back. He beat a defender, and there was quick ball, a nice tip pass in the build-up, which seemed contrary to the conditions. 5-3, so that's the first lead change of the game. 9 minutes, Bordeaux, they're opting for the threes, and it worked for them in their quarterfinal. But LARvLEI misses that one on 9 minutes. They switch tack on 18. Another kickable but not easy penalty. They opt for touch. That resulting play leads to another penalty, which is much easier to kick. And Bordeaux kicked that one, so they'll go back in front. It's the second lead change. I wrote that it's really quite tentative, and due to these conditions, it makes sense. And I really think it did. Woki got a yellow card on 25 minutes for kind of a deliberate knock-on. He jumped up and tapped the ball down, which was going out wide to one of the Toulouse players. So they ruled that was, preventing a pass. But from the resulting penalty, Intimac kicked it dead. So nothing really doing. And it's a disappointing one for Toulouse because they didn't really take advantage of the yellow card. Like, they had a big scrum on 32 minutes, but that's nothing much to do with the yellow card, really. Nothing much doing. There was no scoring during the yellow card. I wrote, why are they doing mental offloads in this wet conditions? It was Marchand and other guys as well. Seemingly trying to force stuff before Woki could come back on the field. But, like I said, nothing doing. 38 minutes, Toulouse did get a penalty, a good strike from Intimac to make it 8 points to 6. That was the third and final lead change of the game. Bordeaux wouldn't go back in front from there. Dupont did get a nice line break before halftime, but they weren't able to capitalize on it. So 8-6 at halftime, very tentative. Toulouse kicked another one on 44 to make it 11 points to 6. So they're slowly edging their way away. That being said, though, Bordeaux had heaps of the ball, so it was a bizarre one where Toulouse were getting the points, but Bordeaux had the possession. It did stop raining, but apparently it was still very, very windy, so still not the best conditions to play. 63 minutes, there was a late tackle on Dupont, which is a silly one to concede, and that makes it 14 points to 6. 68, though, 5 minutes later, Bordeaux kicked one to make it 14-9. They're just still in touch. But realistically, the game was taken away when Dupont got the try in 71 minutes. Colby takes a high ball. They get it to Aki, Medar, Holmes, I think it was, Dupont. I think Holmes got both the try assists in this one. And that was pretty much game over, 21 points to 9. That's the way she finished. Still had some good performances. It had a lot of kicking, man. There were 35 kicks from hand for Toulouse and 33 from Bordeaux. So that's 68 kicks from hand. To put that into context, Super Rugby AU had a semi-final also the same weekend and it had 41. So 68 is a bloody lot. But remember, the conditions were really bad. So that's got to be taken into account. A Super Rugby Aotearoa game over the same weekend had 46. So 68 is a lot of kicks. But again, playing to the conditions. Richie Arnold has 16 out of 19 tackles. Marais for Bordeaux has 16 out of 17. So some good shifts on defense. Dupont and LARvLEI, kind of the guys we highlighted in the preview as maybe being the game breakers. They lead their teams with the run meters. 132 for Dupont, 145 for LARvLEI. 2 clean breaks for Dupont, 1 for LARvLEI. There was some guy yelling really loud near one of the microphones in English. I think it was it Higginbotham? I don't know. Maybe it was one of the coaches. Sounded like an Aussie, but I could be wrong. Someone was yelling and yelling and yelling and yelling, and everything that person was yelling was being picked up on the microphone. They must have told him to move because, yeah, he didn't stay there for long. But the commentators on my stream were getting pretty frustrated, saying they wanted him to go and get an ice cream or something to take a break. Possession finishes 47-53 with Bordeaux having more territory, 41-59. Run meters 436 to 415, which is actually not too bad given the conditions. Turnovers conceded though 16-13, 16 to Toulouse, 13 to Bordeaux. It's pretty high. The lineouts were both having a wee bit of issues. Penalties conceded was 10-15, so not that high, but not low. But yeah, tricky game and tricky conditions, but 2 tries to none. It's kind of hard to argue with Toulouse in that one, even if Bordeaux did put up a pretty good showing. The second one is the one I've watched this morning. La Rochelle against Leinster. Beautiful day. Absolutely beautiful. Seemingly not a cloud in the sky. There are fans outside the stadium and in buildings nearby the stadium cheering their team on because they're not allowed into the actual ground. Yeah, it was a bit of a crazy one. Also, multiple lead changes in this one. First half was probably more like a bit of a back and forward affair, a bit tighter. Second half, La Rochelle kind of were able to really pull away with it. La Rochelle conceded a penalty at the breakdown early. Byrne missed a very kickable penalty early. In the scheme of things, it doesn't make a huge difference, but he didn't make a mistake from his second one. La Rochelle were conceding quite a few penalties at the start of the game, actually, and they eventually got yellow carded. It was Liebenberg who got yellow carded. Interestingly, Leinster were opting for the taps. They tapped it a couple of times from about 5 meters out. Keller had tapped it. Eventually, it led to Furlong barraging over, and it was 7 points to nil, so 7 points during the yellow card. La Rochelle did, though, get some possession despite having the man down. Josh van der Fleer did get a turnover when La Rochelle were on attack, but eventually they managed to win a penalty that La Rochelle, and they kicked it to make it 7-3. And then West slotted a drop goal on 18 minutes after another good period of pressure. So they kind of do pretty well to come back because Leinster take those initial 7 points during the yellow card, but then La Rochelle pick up 6. So the profit on the yellow card for Leinster is only a measly 1 point. Byrne, a solid penalty after Skelton concedes one at the breakdown, makes it 10-6. And then another one after another breakdown penalty makes it 13-6. Ruddock goes off with a calf injury at that point, which is unfortunate. Baird comes on. At that point, the commentary team I had, whoever was the third commentator, the one who only had a couple of comments through the match, was saying the ref needs to be speaking French to stop the French guys getting penalised at the breakdown because something about the communication being unfair. I'm not sure that I buy that, man. Like, I know Wayne Barnes in the previous game was speaking a bit of French. But Wayne Barnes, I don't know how good his French is because I can't speak French. But I can understand some of the I can understand release. I can understand magnificent competition that he uses. You know, when he drops a few lines in French, I can understand most of them because some of them are very similar words in English, right? Anything complicated, Wayne Barnes tends to switch to English. And I don't know, man. If I can understand basic French calls like release in this game with Wayne Barnes, I'm pretty sure the French contingent in this game can probably understand similar calls from the ref in English, right? I don't know. Tell me if I'm wrong. But yeah, I just thought that was an interesting point. I didn't think that was really a factor. Anyway, 32 minutes. The trade of penalties continues. Ehai West kicks one to make it 9 points to 13. He does make a good cross kick a couple of minutes later, does West to Vito. Vito goes close. He maybe could have reached out, but I think it was it McGrath who got his body in the way, so maybe he took the right option by not forcing it, did Vito. They had advantage, but they knocked it on eventually. They did have a big overlap at one point, did La Rochelle, but the passing was bad, and they kind of missed out on it. The passing went to ground. So by the time they picked up, I think it was Lades, picked the ball up off the ground, Leinster's defence was able to kind of make its way across to cover. But anyway, they opted for the 3, so it's a 1 point ball game, 13 points to 12. Lades restarts were a bit bit sketchy in that first half, right? He was having trouble with the sun in his eyes, apparently, which is weird because he played in Cape Town where the sun is bloody bright as. So I would have thought he would have been used to it. But anyway, half time, it's a 1-point ball game. Very, very tight. Very, I guess, fitting for a semi-final. Second half, La Rochelle finally go in front with another penalty for Mr. West. That one was right in front, 15 points to 13. Botia had to go off, which was unfortunate with a big hit. He had his leg strapped, but he wasn't looking to flash. And they checked Tyke Furlong to make sure he hadn't put out a forearm. I think it was on Lays again on one of his tackles, but they looked at it for quite a long time, and he was clearly, his arm was next to his body, not outstanding. So I don't know. I kind of enjoyed watching this because I've been watching Super Rugby and whatnot and the Rainbow Cup where there's captains referrals and stuff all the time. This one felt like it was moving quicker without all those stoppages. So that one stoppage did feel a bit too long. But overall, the lack of stoppages is kind of refreshing. La Rochelle conceded a penalty on 52. Byrne made no mistake back in front. Leinster 16 points to 15. So constant lead changes, which is what you want from a semi-final. But James Lowe gets yellow carded on 54. He puts in a good tackle with La Rochelle hot on attack, but the ref rules that he's got his feet all over the ball, slowing it down. So, yeah. And also a weird moment after that where West puts in another cross kick. And it's too big, but Lama kind of decides to leave it and let it go into touch. But they had advantage anyway, did La Rochelle, so they probably should have just grabbed it and let them go back for the advantage. But it didn't quite go out straight away, so it was a, I don't know, mind explosion moment. I guess pressure does that to you. 62 minutes, that was the penalty that went off the post. That was on 60 minutes. But either way, during the yellow card, they did kick a penalty to make it 18-16. The next one went off the post. Another penalty to La Rochelle. This time, Doolan opted to go for touch. And La Rochelle messed up the line out. It was kind of a brutal one for them. McGrath made a decent exit, but they were still kind of in their 22 Leinster. So still really under the pump. In that second half, I thought. 64 minutes, La Rochelle get an on-field, no try. They check it to see if there's any grounding, but Josh van der Vleer's got his body in the way of that one. He tackled Kerballo, so it's short. It's a good stop, but a minute later, La Rochelle do go over. It's Aldrich with Skelton, like, powering him over from behind, adding that bit of extra weight. I mean, credit to Ross Byrne, because from that 5-metre scrum, Vito peels off the side and he's moving at a rate of knots, but Ross Byrne brings down the big number 8 and makes that initial stop, but eventually La Rochelle do go over. So it's 25 points to 16. Aldrich gets the try. The yellow card is 10-0 at that point. So you compare that to Leinster's period where they had the man advantage. They just finished with the 1 point. La Rochelle get 10 unanswered points. They get another penalty on 73. They opt for the corner, they maul it, and Skelton goes over. They convert it 32-16. That's pretty much when the fat lady was singing. And Ross Byrne did get a try at the death. 77 minutes. They took a quick conversion. It was a series of quick penalties in Leinster's favour. They took the conversion quickly and he slotted it 32-23. But yeah, they still needed to score twice. But it was not likely to happen. So yeah, crazy game. I probably talked a bit longer about that one than that one because that one had more doing than that one, but much better weather in the second one. Possession finishes 46-54 to Leinster. Territory 49-51, so pretty tight. Run meters, Leinster has more, 374 to 295. Clean breaks, though, is 6-4 to La Rochelle. Offloads 16 to 3. Different play styles, hey. Turnovers conceded, Leinster have 11. Including 7 times where La Rochelle turned them over at the breakdown. The second half was all about La Rochelle winning breakdown penalties. Turnovers conceded for La Rochelle was 8 with 3 breakdown penalties to Leinster. At least one of those was Josh van der Vleer. Kicks from hand 23-21. So like I mentioned, a lot lower than that first game. Kind of 40 odds about normal. Penalties conceded 11-14. So similar to the first game. La Rochelle's line out is maybe their one black mark. They had 3 goes straight out of 14. So let them down a wee bit, but overall Skelton was huge. 42 run meters, man, for a big old lock. He's a big unit of a man. Bougari has 3 turnovers, 1 at the breakdown, which is phenomenal. Van der Fleer has 17 from 17 tackles. Conan has like 18 carries, so very busy, but yeah, not enough doing for Leinster in this one. Second half, La Rochelle, I think, are pretty deserved winners. First final for them. It's a long time between drinks for Toulouse to make the final, but they'll be looking to get another star on their jersey. The crowd noise was a bit weird. Apparently they were playing it over the actual speakers at the ground, but it was a bit kind of hit and miss. Sometimes it was on, sometimes it was off. Weird one. But yeah, all French final, like I said. So congratulations to Toulouse and to La Rochelle. Most people were predicting a Toulouse and Leinster final, but it is an all French affair at Twickenham at the end of May. So it should be an interesting one. I'm not sure how do Irish fans feel about this one? Do you suddenly get behind La Rochelle because of the Irish connection with O'Gara? I know he's a Munster man. Maybe Munster fans get behind La Rochelle. Do you want Toulouse to get a win? Do you not care? I don't know how it works. That kind of inner mechanics of the competition are a bit beyond me as a neutral. But anyway, it should still be a fascinating final with these two French teams. Plenty of talent on display. La Rochelle are certainly turning a lot of guys who were questionable at Super Rugby into some proper class players. Like, I know Dillard Lades had trouble under the high ball, but he was always considered a bit small and a bit defensively frail to operate at the top level. Likewise, Raymond Rule. I mentioned Ehio West a few times, so there's a few guys who seem to be performing just at that next level under maybe some better coaching. But anyway, we'll see how things go for the final. You guys let me know your thoughts on these two games. As I said, quite different games, quite different conditions, but both the home sides getting the results. Anyway, you guys take care, and I'll talk to you again soon. See you later.